Can you shoot your YouTube videos with your iPhone? Actually, the iPhone takes pretty good video if you know how to work it right. Today I've got 8 tips for shooting better iPhone video. Tip number 1 is to use the camera on the back of your phone, not use selfie mode. The camera on the back of your phone is actually a much better camera than the one on the front. Now, if you're shooting yourself by yourself, you can use a mirror to make sure that your framing is right, but always try to use that back camera when you can. Next up, turn your camera sideways before you get rolling. You want to achieve that 16:9 aspect ratio that matches the YouTube player window. Now, if you're shooting for a very specific platform like TikTok or Snapchat or even YouTube stories that call for vertical video, yeah, you can use vertical video in those situations, but most of the time you should be shooting horizontally. If you're wondering why, I made a video about it, of course. I'll link to that right here. Tip number 3 is to not use digital zoom. So typically if you were shooting something with your phone, your inclination would be that if you wanted to zoom in on something, you would pinch your fingers, touch the screen, and spread them apart to get that zoom in. But that's actually not at all what you want to do because you're not really doing like a traditional optical zoom like you would with like a longer lens. All you're doing is cropping out the perimeter of the frame and scaling up the center of the frame, and you're killing the resolution on your image. The better option is to actually like get up and physically move closer to the object you're trying to shoot. Tip number 4 is to know how to frame your shots. You probably assume that whatever you're trying to shoot should be dead center in the frame of your video, and that's actually not true. In photography and videography, there's something called the rule of thirds, and it's a guideline to help you compose your shots so they're most pleasing to the human eye. So you have to envision that there's a tic-tac-toe board over your shot, and anything that's really important in your shot should land one of the 4 intersecting points on your frame. Now, the iPhone actually has a tool to help you with this. It's called the grid. If you go into settings, camera, and then turn on that grid mode, when you go back to your camera, you'll see this little tic-tac-toe board over your screen, and that's really going to help you compose your shots. Tip number 5 is to stabilize your shots with a gimbal if they're moving shots or a tripod if you're just trying to do a steady shot. Invest in a piece of equipment. This one here is called the Smooth, which I like because it doubles as a tripod and as a gimbal, and these will definitely help you avoid really ugly, shaky shots. Now, newer iPhones do have stabilization built in them, but you could always use an extra hand, honestly, and so investing in a piece of equipment like this is definitely going to upgrade the quality of the videos that you take. I am going to link below to my review of the Smooth so you can learn more about it, but there's tons of other tools like this on Amazon as well. I would definitely check those out. Tip number 6 is to make sure you have ample lighting. The newest iPhone does have like a dark record mode, but anything that came before that is notoriously bad in low light conditions. So make sure if you have one of those phones that you use an artificial light source like a studio light or a lamp or a natural light source just like a window. Make sure whatever you're shooting is lit well. Tip number 7 is to use the auto lock features on your phone. So for focus, you can actually pick on your screen what you want to focus on by pointing your camera at whatever it is that you're shooting, holding your finger down over the object you want the image to focus on, and then you'll get this box to pop up. That is going to lock in your focus on whatever object you set it to. You'll also see this slider to the right of that box. That is a way to lock your exposure. So if you don't lock your exposure, if the light changes wherever you are, if you're moving around, or if you're outside and the sun goes behind a cloud, the iPhone will try to like correct the exposure for you, and it's like on a delay, and it doesn't look great. I'm not a big fan of that feature. So you always want to lock down your exposure as well. What you want to do is grab this little sun icon that appears next to the focus box on your iPhone, slide your finger up or down to choose your exposure, release your finger, and your shot will be locked as long as you have the camera app open and you're recording on that frame. Tip number 8, and this is my absolute favorite tip is for you to install a manual camera app on your iPhone. This one that you're looking at here is called Pro Movie, and what it does is it allows me to change so many more settings on my iPhone camera than the traditional camera app allows me to do. I can change my shutter speed, my color temperature, my ISO. I can even shoot in different resolutions and formats than the camera app allows you to do. This is like the best $3 I've ever spent. It's a total game changer. So you can for sure shoot your YouTube videos with your iPhone. In fact, every generation of iPhone gets better and better and better in the camera department. So there's nothing wrong with doing it. If you want more technical tips for beginners, I've got a whole playlist all about that just for you. I will see you guys next time.